My name is Marinus van Sandwyk. I'm the founder and Chief Technology Officer of Tembo Technology Lab, a company that is focused exclusively on application modernization. And today is the first of a series of discussions that we will have on this very important subject. The first question in everybody's mind is, in all probability, what the heck is modernization and why is it so important? And I think specifically what is of great importance here is that we have people like Aberdeen, Butler, McKinsey, Forrester, Gartner, all of these companies in actual fact identify application modernization and modernization in general as the one of the three most important imperatives that will face IT for the next 5 to 10 years. Now, very important is to recognize that modernization is not a technical issue. A lot of people immediately want to dive into the technicalities around the issue, but it's very important to recognize and to understand that it is not a technical issue. The technology essentially just allows you to serve the organization much better. Now, if you look at the business drivers behind modernization, it is essentially a couple of major issues. The one is, more often than not, the cost to maintain your existing application to a certain degree became prohibitive due to the fact that quite often it's a monolith. And as a result, the organization has great difficulty in responding in an agile fashion to any new changes in industry. And specifically today, for an organization to truly succeed, you've got to be very, very agile and be able to very nimbly adjust to changes in the way we do business. One of the other major drivers is the fact that the way that computer systems interacted with the users have changed dramatically over essentially the last 10 to 15 years. Historically, you picked up a phoned somebody, and you had a person on the other side of a terminal, which was typically a green screen terminal, a matrix type workstation, as we refer to it, where you literally had to interact and enter codes, etc., and you actually had to teach the people how to use that particular system. Today, the key is to actually bring that functionality to the end user directly, which means that suddenly you actually have to interact with your users in a graphical mechanism, either via the web, in terms of a browser, a mobile device, maybe voice response units, it may be biometric devices, whatever the case may be. And very important is that those users don't understand the codes that you historically used in your system in the background, which means that you have to interact with them in a mechanism that they can relate to and that is logical to them, and very importantly, that is intuitive. It is very important to understand that the average attention span of any potential user is 10 to 15 seconds. So if they hit your system and the experience that they have with your application is not immediately sensible to them, you've lost them. And nowadays it is so easy. There's a wealth of other organizations that do something similar to what you do, and if the experience they offer on their website or on their systems is better than what you offer, you're dead in the water. It is as simple as that. You've lost that user, and you've lost that user in all probability for life. To try and get them back is very, very difficult. So it's very important to understand that we really, the two main business drivers is, on the one side, the fact that the organization's got to be very agile, which means that you actually have to take this monolith that you have, break it up into much more functional little building blocks, so to speak, or components as we refer to it from an IT perspective. And secondly is the way that we interact with that system. Now, very important is also this notion that legacy is bad, which cannot be further from the truth. It is absolute hogwash. The issue here is that legacy which in any other terms, in actual fact, is a very good word. And I would suggest that you actually go and look at the definition and the meaning of that word. It means that you've got stability, you've got reliability, and a host of very, very good things that actually is part and parcel of that system. It is the fact that you have this perception that the fact that you actually interacting with that system in a green screen environment more often than not, that suddenly the system is old. Reality is that more often than not, the amount of functionality that you have within that system is enormous. And I think the very important thing from a business perspective to understand is that the functionality that you have in your system is in actual fact your biggest single investment. People have this perception that it is in actual fact it's the people, it is the data, it is the systems, as in terms of the hardware. It's not. Because that software has actually grown with your organization, and it was in actual fact most likely developed specifically for your given way of doing business. And quite often it actually made your company very successful. And there's a number of examples locally in the South African industry as well as internationally where that actually is borne out. If we look at the South African industry, Momentum Life, Nashua are two organizations that immediately spring to mind where they've actually used technology to make them successful. All you have to do is go and have a look at where Nashua was 20 years ago, where Momentum Life was 20 years ago, and have a look at where they are today. And or a very large percentage of the growth was due to what they've been able to do with their systems. And where they used systems as a strategic weapon. And I think that's one of the other questions your organization, and specifically the business people in your organization, have to ask themselves up front. Do they see IT as a tactical tool, or do they see IT as a strategic weapon? Because IT can change the face of the way that you do business. And again, if we look at international examples there, Google is a prime example. And another one that I think in actual fact probably sets the standard internationally is Amazon.com. They've changed the way that we order essentially anything nowadays, and it really started only with books, DVDs and videos. Very important, the first question the organization has to ask themselves is, do they see themselves using IT as a strategic weapon, or do they really see it as a tactical mechanism just to adjust to changing requirements?